Hey guys, welcome back to my video. Today we will talk about more evil units. So today we have the Uruk-Hai, which are basically incredibly angry orcs on illegal magic steroids created by Saruman and Sauron. Bigger and stronger, they prefer fighting up close and personal rather than bothering with frivolities like making friends with the orcs. As you can see, Breaker, Sapper, and Alchemist are really siege units, and the siege stats are much higher than that of the damage stats. For attack and siege, Bruiser Layer is higher than the Uruk-Hai Archer camps, but their skills are not quite the same. The Bruiser Layers seem to be more focused on early damage, while the Uruk-Hai Archer camp is more focused on the sustained attacks. Looking at the other form, this one seems like the Uruk-Hai are quite fast, but they're not. They are just not very fast. You don't even see one with over 100 speed on it. Likewise, the HP and defense are not very high either, which means that the Uruk-Hai may be focused more on output and may not pay much attention to being able to sustain output for a long time. As for resources and conscription time, as always, the higher the level, the more resources and time it will consume. But the differences in resources between the Brawler and Berserker is just too big a difference. If you want to spend less resources to conscript quickly, then Brawler would be the better choice. Of course, if you want to do more damage and siege, you might as well go for the Berserker. For siege specifically, I'd say Sapper, but Alchemist does have a higher siege output. And depending on whether you need a siege unit in a hurry or whether you have enough resources or not, I think you can make your decision on that. Next up, we have the Uruk-Hai Infantry. Uruk-Hai Infantry typically start out much stronger than the normal units thanks to fanaticism, though this effect wears off over time. First of all, we have the Bruisers, who are tier 1 melee Uruk-Hai units. Bruisers are undisciplined Uruk-Hai fighters who have yet to learn the subtleties of combat. They can break enemy armor and lessen defense, allowing more expensive troops to finish the job. Next up, on tier 2 we have the Brawlers as the melee Uruk-Hai troops. They like fighting between themselves almost as much as they like running headfirst into battle. Barely disciplined nutjobs, they start out strong but normalize after a while due to their fanaticism skill, because their damage bonus gradually decreases every round. Next up we have the Berserkers, who are a tier 3 melee Uruk-Hai troop. They have the same fanaticism, early battle ability like the Brawlers, but now they're so angry that they're immune to stuns and also have a defense boost thanks to the Indomitable skill. Snagathrak is a tier 4 Isengard unique melee infantry. Cruel slave drivers, they come in cavalry numbers and have extremely wide damage stat range. They can do next to nothing or a whopping 60 damage per unit and everything in between, depending on your luck, and generally they have high stats to make up for their smaller numbers. Next up, we have the Uruk-Hai Siege Infantry. Similar to Pirates, these guys have fire attacks that ignore physical defense. They're best used for torching forts. In particular, if you want a cheap demolition crew that rather than a true combat unit, it might be worth having an army with nothing but breakers, just for wrecking already cleared forts. Though by that time you don't want to waste the barrack space, so go for the tier 3 units instead if you can afford them. Breakers are a tier 1 Uruk-Hai melee demolition troop. They prefer to smash things rather than cut them, making them a perfect addition to any siege battalion. They are a siege unit you may pass up, since you're not likely going to need siege units until you already have access to sappers anyways. Their skills can increase burn damage for normal attacks. Next up we have the Sappers, who are the tier 2 Uruk-Hai melee demolition troops. Their normal attacks deal fire damage, and they are typically used for assaulting forts or anything with walls, with their high siege stat. Then we have the Alchemists, who are the Tier 3 Uruk-Hai demolition troops. They are trained for the specific purpose of causing mass structural damage. They carry a very high siege stat, and just like the others, are best used for setting forts on fire. Now finally we have the Uruk-Hai Infantry, and unlike the typical useless Dundane anti-ranger buffs, the Uruk-Hai archers are actually pretty good at killing other archers, since they don't have to go close to infantry to shoot them. The Uruk-Hai archers are a Tier 2 Uruk-Hai ranged unit. They use flame arrows to burn things down, and they don't count as siege units as they have a pretty weak siege stat. Their skills is fire arrows, which can inflict additional burn damage. Now we have the snipers, who are the Tier 3 Uruk-Hai ranged units. Their bullseye skills allows them to prioritize enemy rangers, and their unusually heavy armor gives them the full protection skill, letting them survive attacks from melee units in case the front line collapses. They will take pleasure in riddling enemies with arrows. So that's it for today. I will be continuing to talk about more enemy units in the next video. So see you guys next time.